Hello. So, the first thing I saw this morning was an article about how the loneliness epidemic would be ending soon because all of our friends are going to be replaced by AI chatbots. So, we'd have chatbots to talk to instead of real life human people. And I found that incredibly alarming for a number of reasons. Now, I don't think that'll actually happen. And the article, once I clicked on it, I realized it was actually speaking very negatively about that idea and that proposal because humans are important and human connection is essential for our well being. So, even though I don't think that we'll get to that extreme, at least hopefully not in my lifetime, I do know, and I'm sure you know, that the world has changed significantly because of AI and because of all the technology we have available to us today. And I've always been an advocate for human connection, making social connections, fostering relationships. At the end of the day, those are, in my opinion, the most important thing that we have in this life. And I had an experience earlier this week, which I'll go into detail with in this video, that really reminded me of the power of conversation and the power of people. And that's something that AI cannot replace. So, what I've decided based on the experiences of this week is to start sharing more content around how to foster human connection. And a huge impediment to that a lot of people experience is social anxiety, even if it's just a low grade, low level of social anxiety, which I think we're all developing more and more of as we become so comfortable behind screens and less comfortable in person. So if you're interested in more content like that, I am putting together a newsletter to go out frequently. Well, I don't know how frequently yet. This is brand new, but I'm putting together a newsletter that will offer tips and suggestions to manage social anxiety as well as a bunch of other things. So if you're interested in that, please click the link in the description and you can subscribe to sign up for that mailing list. Now, I work, as you know, if you've watched these videos before, I work as a speech coach and I also have my master's in speech pathology. And one thing that speech pathologists are trained to do is actually to teach social skills. So it's called pragmatics, but social language and communication skills. And again, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards focusing on right now with these videos, with my newsletter, and with courses that I'll be developing because I'm so passionate about this human connection and this human experience. And at the end of the day, we're not robots. We can use robots to help us with a lot of things, but we are not robots, and we need to maintain our connection to other people who are also not robots. So, a few days ago, I was reminded of the importance of human connection when I don't even know what happened. Like, I woke up and I was kind of dealing with a conflict with someone, or it's a situation that I'm just not sure how to handle. And I was going off in my head about it and getting kind of upset. But then I put that aside and I went and did something else. And then, long story short, I was triggered by something and I way overreacted and I blew the situation out of proportion. And it wasn't necessarily the trigger, but I was beating myself up for not doing something in a way that I thought would have been better. And I couldn't go back and change it. And so I just went down this really negative spiral. And I had a bit of a meltdown on a Monday morning, like a bigger meltdown than I have had in a very long time. And this didn't have to do with my mom. This didn't have to do with anything actually tragic. This was just me being a little dramatic. But it wasn't my fault. So I'm not saying, oh, I was just being dramatic. It happened and I had very real emotions and I allowed myself to feel those emotions. But then I was sitting in my house and I was like, oh my gosh, I've been having this meltdown for like 30 minutes. I need to get over it. And I couldn't snap myself out of it. And it was like 11 a.m. on a Monday. And so most of the people that I know that I would be able to call were working. And so I sent a text to my brother, just like, oh my gosh, I'm freaking out about this thing. But I really needed to talk to someone, and I knew he wasn't in a place to be able to chat. And so I don't have a therapist. I recommend getting a therapist if you can, but I currently don't have one. And so I found the Crisis Prevention Suicide Prevention Hotline because I knew that it was a free way to talk to someone when you were feeling in crisis. Now, I wasn't about to commit suicide or anything, but it was a valuable resource for me to just talk to a person. So I researched what to expect and I was like, okay, I think I can handle this. So I called the line, and it was a different experience than I expected. I highly recommend it if you're in a situation where you just need to talk to a person. And so this woman answered, and as soon as she answered, I was like, I feel kind of stupid now. This is not that big of a deal, but I don't feel stupid. We need to talk about problems. And then as soon as I started sharing what was going on, it felt good just to talk about it. And I have to be honest, the woman on the phone was not that helpful. I'm not saying I don't recommend it. I do recommend it because even though she wasn't that helpful, it helped me just having the ability to say it out loud. And that showed me too that the power lies in human connection, even if the other human is not necessarily offering what you need. And the reason I say she wasn't helpful is because, I mean, she was a little helpful. I'll give her some credit, but just starting out, she didn't really ask me any questions. She was just like, hi. And so then I felt awkward. I didn't feel taken care of. And again, maybe my expectations were just wrong, but she just seemed a little vacant, and I don't think she necessarily got what I was saying, but that could have been the way I was expressing it. So no fault on her end. She did say some things that calmed me down, and by the end of the conversation, I was good to go. It was like, okay, reset switch, just talking it out loud. And I had been journaling about it and crying about it for like half an hour before that. And then in 5 minutes of just saying what happened, getting it off my chest to another human being, and I felt ready to carry on about my day. In fact, I even then got inspired and I was like, oh my gosh, maybe we should do speech training to the suicide prevention hotline so that they give people a positive experience. But anyway, that's a very vulnerable thing for me to share, but I do recommend if you need human contact, call that line. It's a crisis prevention line. It's totally free and they're there to help. That's not why I'm making this video today. My point is, it reminded me that human connection is invaluable. You cannot get the same benefit from texting. You cannot get the same benefit from AI. And the good news is we have people all around us. Now, the biggest point I want to make in this video is to remind you and remind myself that skills that we don't use, we lose. And we already are noticing, and I notice in myself, that social skills are starting to atrophy, meaning we're losing our ability to connect with other people. Think about the last time you had a conversation with someone where your phone wasn't right next to you and you were totally uninterrupted. It doesn't happen that often these days. I mean, sometimes it does. For example, when I'm having dinner with my family, we never have our phones even in the room. So there's not that distraction, but that's rare. And even when we're on Zoom calls, we can check our phones, we can see our emails, there are things popping up all the time. And so part of our ability to connect to people is simply starting to atrophy. We're losing our ability to connect the way that we used to. And that's probably part of why I ended up calling a total stranger on a hotline, not because I don't have friends, but because calling someone out of the blue is not as socially normal these days for most people, at least people my age, compared to texting someone saying, hey, can you chat? Or hey, call me when you get a chance. And since that's just not as normal, we're not as comfortable with it. I didn't want to burden someone. I didn't want to put myself out there. It's very vulnerable. And so the thing that I think we all can do to keep ourselves healthy and connected as AI and technology just becomes more and more prevalent is to make an extra effort to keep practicing human connection so that our abilities to connect with other people don't diminish. We have to keep it strong now. We have to prevent it from getting to the point where it feels impossible. So this is our preventative measure so that when AI takes over and people are saying, oh, don't make friends, just be friends with this chatbot, you'll still feel comfortable connecting with people. Because it's really easy to slip into the convenience of texting over calling, for example, or just asking Google instead of asking a friend. And I'm not saying we can't do any of those things, but I'm just saying one thing I'm going to try to prioritize is connecting with people, even when it's less convenient, than opting for the thing that's the easiest so that I can avoid that social experience. We don't want to avoid social experiences. We want to maximize them because they're only going to get more and more rare. And when it gets to the point where they're even that much more rare, we want to know that we still have the ability to do it. Because every time we don't do it, that muscle's getting weaker. And every time we do it, that muscle's getting stronger. So basically, I'm suggesting that we all put in the effort now to get really socially fit before all the technology inundates us even more. And so how do I recommend doing that? The first, most simple step is talk to people whenever you can. So something that I share in my online course called Show Up Sure is the connection over convenience challenge. And with that, I'm suggesting to prioritize connecting with people over taking the convenient option. So instead of ordering your groceries online, go to the grocery store and chat with the cashier. Instead of texting your friend, call your friend. Little things like that that really add up and keep our social skills sharp. We can literally go an entire week probably without talking to another human being if we want to, because we can conduct our entire lives on a device. And that is really handy. It's really convenient in a lot of ways, and it's not how we as human beings were built. We're not designed to be on devices all day. We're designed to be with other people. And I say this as I talk to a box in a home that is empty, and I recognize that too. So at least this is a medium where a human voice can share a human thought with human listeners, but better than watching YouTube, go have these discussions with people that you know. So anyway, all of that is to say I highly recommend just maintaining your connections with as many people as you can. I have let this slip in recent years, admittedly, and so this is going to be my priority as well, is just connecting with real live human people as often as I can so that we maintain our humanity and prioritize things that are good for our bodies and good for our souls in the long run. If you are experiencing social anxiety and the thought of connecting with people feels like a huge challenge, then check out the latest video I posted with 3 top tips to overcome social anxiety. You also may be interested in the free PDF I have available to download in the description with some powerful perspective shifts to improve confidence. And really, the biggest thing I'll say is remember that it is in your nature to be connected with other people. So it might feel scary for a period of time, but in the long run, it's going to feel a lot more comfortable being with people than being with computers all the time. So those are my thoughts on that. I would love to hear your thoughts about AI, technology, connection. So please leave a comment below and subscribe to my newsletter and check out all the resources that I mentioned. Thank you for watching.